Last week on the 4th of July, that's Independence Day in the US, there was a huge cyber attack. The hackers are now demanding $70 million in the form of a ransom payment. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what has happened and how you can protect your business. If you're new here, my name is Jonathan Edwards and I'm a business IT consultant based in the UK. I help businesses stay secure and get the very best from their IT spend. You might well have seen this on the news or read about it online over the weekend, but there's a ransomware organisation called REvil, and that stands for Ransomware Evil. Now the whole purpose, the whole reason why these exist is to hack into company networks and put ransomware on all the devices. What they then do is demand a ransom, a payment, in return for your data back. Now, if you don't pay that ransom, what they will do is take your data and they will publish it on their blog. So they will make it public. And their blog is aptly named the Happy Blog. Now, obviously, this is a position that no business wants to find itself in. So last week on the 4th of July, REvil hacked into a company called Kaseya. Now, Kaseya supply IT management software to IT companies. So IT companies like my own use management software, and that software is usually installed on every computer and every server that we support. That management software helps us to secure the device, it helps us to maintain it, it helps us to provide remote access when there's a problem. It's a real essential part of an IT company's toolbox. We just couldn't live without it. Anyway, one such company is called Kaseya. So the hackers found a vulnerability in the Kaseya software. So a vulnerability is kind of a security flaw or a weakness, and they use this vulnerability to hack into the software. And from there, they were able to get onto hundreds of thousands of different devices around the world and spread ransomware. If you think about it, it makes perfect sense. So if a hacker hacks into a single business, the damage is kind of limited to that one business. But what these have done is hack into some IT management software which is linked to IT companies, and then they can hack into lots and lots of different businesses around the world. This is a bit of a worrying and a growing trend. It follows on from a similar hack to SolarWinds back in 2020. The more companies they can hack into, then the more damage they can do, and fundamentally, the bigger ransom they can demand. So you might be thinking, well, how does this really affect me? Now, this happened in America, we've got a business, we're based in the UK, it's not really important for me. Well, we're an IT company based in North Yorkshire in the UK, and we see ransomware attacks on local businesses nearly every week. So we see them on accountants, law firms, in small market towns. The reason you don't hear about these ransomware attacks is just because they're not newsworthy. They're not going to make the BBC website, they're not going to make the news at 6. So it's quite a small scale thing, but they are happening everywhere at the moment. So if you believe that your business isn't going to be a target, then you've got to absolutely change your mindset with that, because it wouldn't be a case of if you get attacked, it'd be more of a case of when you get attacked. And you've got to ask yourself the question, what would we do as a business on Monday morning if we came into the office and all our IT didn't work? Everything had ransomware on it and you couldn't access anything. What would you do in that situation? That is a question that you have to be asking everybody in your business. But hopefully you're going to get a few tips in this video. So back in May, I published some tips on how you can minimize the risk that your business can get ransomware. Now, I'm not going to go through those tips again in this video. You can see them on my YouTube channel. But what I am going to talk about is the other side of this, not how you can reduce the risk of getting ransomware, but how you can recover when you actually get ransomware. Now, the analogy I use here is if we think about our home. How do we secure our home from getting burgled? Well, we might have an alarm fitted, we might have locks on windows and doors, we might even have some guard dogs. But there's a chance that we still might get burgled. and we have to think about some extra strategies in case we do get burgled. And those strategies might be having a really good insurance policy so we can get paid out for any damage done. Another strategy might be to have some CCTV, so if we do get burgled, the intruders can be identified and hopefully get arrested. Now the same is true for ransomware. We can talk about all these things we can do to prevent you getting ransomware, but there's no 100% bulletproof system that you're not going to get ransomware. So you need to think about strategies that you can put in place in case you do. And the absolute number one strategy is having a good, robust backup in place. Now, when I ask business owners about backup, they usually say, yes, we're okay, we've got a backup in place. But unfortunately, it doesn't kind of end there. So I'm going to spend the rest of this video talking about my key strategies for making sure your backup is robust and making sure that you can recover from a ransomware attack. So my first strategy is to make sure that you have a backup in place. Now, this may sound very basic and even perhaps a little bit silly, but let me tell you a story. Last year we took a call from an accountant in Harrogate who believed that he'd become the victim of a ransomware attack. He called us because his existing IT company weren't answering the phone, and basically had sent him a message to say that they didn't think he had a backup in place. Now, this business owner always thought he had a backup in place. This business owner trusted his IT company that they were providing a backup, but unfortunately he didn't have one. So when he had a ransomware attack, we basically had to start from zero again. He had to look through all his emails to recover lost data. It was an absolute nightmare for this business. So the first tip is to verify that you actually have a backup in place and that it's working. My second strategy is to make sure that the backups that you've got are actually tested. So hackers are getting quite clever. We've heard stories that they're hacking into networks and they're just changing the backup slightly. So it looks like the backup's in place and the backup's working, but when you come to restore that data, most of it is missing from the backup. This would be horrific if you got ransomware and you were confident that your backups were in place, but then when you came to use them, they were useless. So an easy way around this is to make sure that your backups are tested. Now, your IT company, your MSP, should be doing this for you at least every quarter. And what they'll do is they get your backup, they'll restore it to a test system, and they'll say, yes, it's absolutely perfect. Now, my third tip is similar to my second tip, but it's just slightly different, so that's why it's a new tip. And that is to make sure that you can restore your backups really, really quickly. So we recently had a client come to us because they were in a situation where they had ransomware. Now, they had a backup in place and the backups contained all the data, so they were tested. So that's two really good things. But the thing that they missed out on is it took about 4 or 5 days to restore all the data. So for 4 or 5 days, everybody in that business was just sat around not able to access anything. So even though they had those backups, they were pretty useless when it came to it because it just took too long to restore the data. So you have to have some good backup technology, and it should be tested to make sure that when you do restore it all, it happens like that. Now, my fourth and final tip is to make sure that your backups don't get impacted with ransomware too. We've seen that so many times where the whole server gets impacted with ransomware and the backup device does as well. So the number one way you can do this is to store a recent copy of your backups in a secure and separate location to your main office. So there we have it. There's another massive ransomware attack in the world. We all need to acknowledge that ransomware and cyber attacks are here to stay. And what we've got to do is concentrate on our business and invest the right amount of money into our business and our cyber security to make sure that it doesn't happen to us. Because when it does happen to businesses, the business owners turn around every single time and say to us, how can we prevent this ever from happening to us again? Now, you've got that opportunity right now to prevent it ever happening to you, so take it. Thanks for watching.